Let's take a moment and be honest about modern photography. The vast majority of photographs taken today are just digital files stored somewhere that few, if anyone, will ever see. That's just the truth. This one, however, exists as an object. This is a platinum photographic print, one of the rarest and most permanent forms of photography that's still being practiced today. Let's talk about it. Hey, welcome to another video. I'm going to do a short series of videos about platinum printing. I've updated my website. I've changed my business model slightly as to how I intend to show and sell my prints. And I'm going to do 3, maybe 4 videos about that process and why I decided to make the change. Platinum printing is a process that was developed in the 19th century, long before even, I guess you can't even really call them modern darkrooms anymore because even they're pretty much extinct. Everything's pretty much gone digital. I know there are a few people that still have a darkroom, and God bless them that they're keeping that method alive. Well, I'm trying to keep alive platinum printing, which is even older than silver gelatin prints done in a darkroom. There aren't that many people that still do platinum printing. There are some. You can look around on the internet. You'll find an occasional person here and there, but they're pretty difficult to find. And there's not that many people that make their own prints. In other words, they go out, they take the photograph, they do the post-processing, and they actually make the print themselves. Again, there are a few. I'm not saying I'm the only one. Believe me, I know there are others out there. But it's a pretty rare process. And the reason why is because it takes you a little bit of time to get it all dialed in. There are so many variables to platinum printing. No two prints are exactly alike. Even if they come from the same negative, 2 prints will not be identical. They'll be close, but they won't be identical. And it could be something as small as the temperature of your developer. It could be that you've run 2 or 3 prints through your developer at the same time, and it will slightly alter the next print because of the precious metals now being in that developer. Your developer does change over time. It becomes too expensive to use fresh developer every time you do a print. Maybe there's somebody that'll still do that. I don't do that. I reuse my developer. I don't reuse it a lot, but I will make several prints with the same developer. And one of the reasons why is because the developer actually will get better, and you will get slightly better prints, in my opinion, once you have more platinum, palladium, those precious metals in your developer, in the tray. It is done sort of like a wet darkroom, the way a silver gelatin print is made. If you go to my website or if you look here on YouTube, I have other videos that show exactly how I make my prints. But there aren't that many people who do the entire process themselves. There, a lot of people that will offer platinum prints send it away to have one of the few people who still do work in platinum palladium make their prints for them. I do my own from start to finish. An inkjet print or even a silver gelatin print, the image sits up on the surface of the paper. It doesn't really get embedded into the paper. Where a platinum print, the precious metals themselves actually embed themselves into the paper so that the paper becomes the platinum print. The platinum print is in the paper. It does not sit on the top of the paper. It gets embedded into the paper. And that changes everything because of that difference. You might think it doesn't, but it makes a huge difference. Now, what are those differences? Well, for one thing, there's no gloss. With a lot of inkjet prints and silver gelatin prints, even if you use matted paper, there's still a gloss. With platinum prints, there is no gloss on the paper. There's no reflective layer. Again, an inkjet print, silver gelatin print, that print sits on top of the paper. There's a little layer that it sits on top of. Where a platinum print, it gets embedded deep inside that paper. So there's no separation between the image and the paper. Where there is with an inkjet print, silver gelatin print, many other forms, there's a separation because that image still really sits on top of the paper. Where a platinum print, it embeds itself in the paper, like I said, and that is why there's so much permanence to it. A platinum print, if cared for correctly, could last hundreds of years. It's why collectors and museums tend to want platinum prints. They seek them out because they know the permanence of a platinum print. So when you stand in front of a platinum print, it sends off a different vibe. It just looks different. The tonal range is deeper. It's different than even a silver gelatin print or an inkjet print. Particularly if you look in the shadows. The transitions are more subtle, especially with, say, a black and white print done in a dark room, a silver gelatin print. And don't get me wrong, I love silver gelatin prints. I used to print in silver gelatin for a long time in a dark room. There's nothing wrong with those prints. I love them. And people that are still using that process, good for them. My only point is that platinum prints are a little different in the way that they embed themselves in the paper as opposed to a silver gelatin or an inkjet print. A platinum print, it doesn't really, I don't know how to say this, but it doesn't demand that you walk up and look at it. It just kind of, you see it and you go, well, that's different. Let me go take a look at it. And the reason why I know this is through experience of watching other people. Even occasionally when someone comes into my home, I have a few of them hanging in the front part of the house, so when people walk into the home, it's right there on a wall. There's a few of them hanging there. And almost every time, whether it's a repairman or a neighbor or whoever it is, one of the first things they do is go, whoa, I've never seen that before. What's that? And I explain it to them. And when I hang them in the gallery, mentioned in some of my other videos that I belong to a local art league now, an art gallery, and most of them are artists, and there's only one or two other photographers, and even those photographers, they don't print in platinum. But the other artists or people that come into the gallery, they'll see all these brightly colored paintings. And again, there's some really wonderful artists in that art league. I'm not talking down the art league. But when they see the platinum print, especially the other artists, they'll walk up and they'll ask me, what is that? I've never seen that. So it invites you to talk about it because it is so different. It is so rare. And that's a big reason why I've decided to only work in platinum as far as selling prints now. I'm going to exclusively only work and sell platinum prints. Platinum is one of the most stable metals known to man, which is why it'll last so long embedded in the paper. It doesn't fade. It doesn't discolor over the years. In other words, if you take care of it, it really will last for several generations. Platinum prints don't just exist, they endure. Every platinum print I make is made by hand. Yes, I have to print out the negative. I do have a digital negative now. I used to make negatives using film. Now I make it using transparency film with a printer. So I do have one negative for each image. However, again, despite printing each one with the same negative, each print will look slightly different. It's very subtle. Sometimes it's really hard to see a difference. It's not like, wow, this one looks one way and this one looks another. No. It's very subtle. And again, sometimes maybe you can't really see it. But no two prints are exactly identical. Again, because of the developer, maybe because a little bit of the chemicals. Two of the chemicals that I use, I have to buy on a fairly regular basis if I'm printing in platinum, because they'll expire after. Bostic & Sullivan, where I buy my chemicals from, they'll say up to a year, but I generally don't trust them past maybe 6 months. And I don't print that often. So I might only use those chemicals once or twice. Now the platinum and the palladium, they will store. And I mentioned the word palladium a few times. Some people will only use platinum when they're making their prints. Some people will only use palladium. Palladium is a little bit darker. Platinum gives you a little bit more of a, I can't say sepia, but a rosy red look to it. And so when combined with the platinum, it gives you a little bit better darks, in my opinion. That's one of the reasons why I typically use a little bit of palladium in each one of the prints. I try to get a little bit better blacks. That is a big difference between a silver gelatin print and a platinum palladium print. A silver gelatin print, you can get a really thick, heavy black. A platinum palladium, it's more of a subtle black. And again, the tones across it are more subtle and more, I think, than a silver gelatin print. In other words, you get more of a tonal range. So you lose maybe a little bit on the black side of your print, but the whole tonal range is a little bit better with a platinum palladium print. As I mentioned previously, it took me a little time to understand what I want my negatives to look like in order to get the platinum print to look the way I think it should look. And even then, the mixture of the chemicals, how long you develop it, you can learn over time to get a pretty consistent basis as to how you want your negative to look and how it will make the platinum print look, but it takes a little time. And I have that pretty well dialed in now, but even then, it might take 2 or 3 prints for me to get the look that I really want. So it's not a matter of throwing it up on a computer screen, looking at it, making a little print and going, all right, make this a little adjustment. You know, you're using up paper, you're using up platinum, which isn't cheap. And so there can be a lot of waste, which is another reason why a lot of people just can't be bothered to do it. And one of the reasons why it's becoming harder and harder to find platinum prints and platinum printers. So these aren't reproductions. These aren't something that I just throw up on my printer and I can spit out 1,000 of them and off we go. No, each one is hand designed, and in a future video you'll find out that each one of them is a limited edition. If you have any interest in it, just go to my website, take a look, and if you have any questions, shoot me off an email. I'll be glad to try and answer any thoughts, any questions you might have. And until the next time, take good care.